What is your brand? And does your brand match the radio station where you want a job? You might be wildly talented, but in a different format.
Yeah, I like that. There's so many places I could jump off of what you've discussed. One is skill set, and I want to talk about that in a bit, if you don't mind. The other is the commitment, almost an obsession with wanting to get into the industry. I was chatting to Rory Petzer. We did an interview with him the other day, and I said to him, what should budding radio producers be doing? And he's like, write down show prep and send it to program managers and say, if I was producing your breakfast show, this is what it would sound like, and that's the effort side. You see, radio has this glamour side to it, but there is an effort side to it, and there's a lot more to it than you think it is. But you've got to know for sure before you put yourself out there to a program manager that you are 100% willing to chase this dream. And because you're gonna get those rejections. It's gonna happen. Okay, so one thing that you said that really tweaked my attention was skill set. So if the person has a certain level of proficiency, in other words, they would fit the station's identity, they do have the intellectual ability, they've got a bit of character and personality, what would be the basic skill set that you would recommend to someone who isn't on radio yet, wants to be, that they could go and work on in the background before coming to you as a program manager and saying, I'd like a job? What are the basic things that they need to go and practice? Reading would be one at top of my head.
Absolutely. I mean, you've got to speak fairly well. I mean, you don't have to have the Gordon Graham voice. I mean, very few people are blessed with a voice like yours. But you have to be able to speak well. You have to be able to you enunciate your words properly, speak clearly, and definitely be able to read. I mean, you'll be shocked when I tell you how many times I've had calls of radio presenters botching live reads. And that's an absolute cardinal sin at commercial radio, because we rely on our advertisers and we always want to put our advertisers in the best position possible. So if our presenters botch a live read, that's completely unacceptable. So being a good reader, absolute requirement. I think the other thing that you need to do as you rehearse for speaking to a program manager is listen to the radio station. There's so many clues that if you pay really close attention, you'll pick up what they're about. You'll pick up how long the links, for example, should be. You'll pick up things like saying the station name and the payoff line and back announcing songs. Those are all important things, and you'll get taught that. But if you know that going in, you put yourself in so much of a stronger position, and that's what you want to do. I mean, whether there's an opening or not, when you approach that program manager, you want to be sure that you are positioning yourself in the absolute best way that you possibly can. So listening to the station, I think, is a really good one. And following it on social media, go onto the website, see what sort of things they're talking about. I mean, if you are a hip-hop fan and you're applying to an adult contemporary radio station, you probably need to school yourself on the music that they play. That's an important thing. I mean, most commercial radio stations are music stations. Their product is 80% music. So if you don't know much about that format, that's going to be a challenge for you down the line, especially when it comes to older music. If there's an 80s song scheduled on the playlist by In Excess and you back announce it as Inx's, not only is the station going to look stupid, but you're going to look stupid. And, that's going to greatly affect the way you're perceived. So definitely, being able to read well, speak well, listen to the station and understand the format would be my four things.
Yeah, I like that. And also, by listening to the station, you'll know what they're doing. And what better way to impress a program manager when sitting in an interview is going to say, and saying to him, that promotion you guys did last week where there was this interaction and I heard the presenter talk about this. I mean, you just sound like you've taken an interest in the station. You're not just there for the fame and the paycheck, I care about it. Lastly, from my side, the last question I want to know from you, and you and I have had this discussion before, and we've had it through the years that I worked with you at East Coast Radio, is hiring as a program manager is such a tough job to do. because you're not just bringing on a voice onto a station, you're bringing in a team member who has to work with the other team members and the brand identity of the station. How do you as a program manager look across the table and decide, okay, this person would fit this team? And what are the red flags that you look for that young up-and-coming radios hopefuls should avoid when sitting in your office?
Well, I think that, you touched on the team. So when you're hiring, you look at your target audience firstly. So when you're putting together a lineup, you say, who are we trying to target? So if you're trying to target groups A, B, and C, by example, and you then want your lineup to speak to those groups, you're not only going to hire a bunch of A's or C's, you're going to hire a diverse group of people. So when there's an opening in your lineup, the first thing you'll probably do is say, well, who's before, who's after, how balanced is my lineup? And so the unfortunate thing is that sometimes, you come along and you might be super talented, but you just don't fit in with the rest of the lineup. Or there's 3 other people on the lineup already who are kind of similar styles to you. And so, right now, we just don't have a gap for you. Yes, you're great, but right now we just don't have something for you. So again, it depends on your passion levels. Do you then say, okay, cool, well, I'll wait? Or, hey, I'm going to go to a different station in the meantime. Or, hey, this is done. I'm done. I'm out of here. So it really depends. And so you look at the mix. I mean, there's so many factors that, and again, depending on what format station you have, depending on where your station is located, all these things would be different at different stations. So, and I guess that's also the thing, when you get feedback from one program manager, the feedback from another program manager might be completely different. And that's right, because each program manager has a different context that they operate in. And so when you think about what is important for, you look at the KZN radio market, you look at East Coast Radio, you look at Gagazi FM, you look at Lotus FM, you look at Vuma. There's so many different requirements on each station. So when you, as an aspiring radio presenter, go to one station, they might give you completely different feedback to another station. And that's absolutely right. And I think, you touched on how important and a big deal it is when you sign someone on. As a program manager, you sign a contract with someone and you bring them into this business. And so in a way, you're saying to your boss, hey, listen, I endorse this guy. And so you've got to make sure that this person is really right for your business, has the skill, like we spoke about, and has the commitment. I think there's 2 things, and I've mentioned this earlier, but they're so important: talent and commitment. And you don't necessarily people don't have both. Some people are just incredibly hardworking and are successful. They're not as talented. And some people are wildly talented, but they're so lazy and they're also successful. But if you've got both, that is what really puts you on the next level. And so I think program managers will always try and identify both in an aspiring radio presenter before they hire them.
Yeah, I think the mark of a true professional, and this is my own quote, so it could be wrong, but the mark of a true professional is not doing what you do well. It's doing any task that's given to you well in the way that your program manager, your manager wants it done. So if you give me a 3 a.m. in the morning show, I got to do the best 3 a.m. in the morning show I can do. If you give me a weekend show, I got to do that. You give me a breakfast show, wherever it is, the true professional can adapt and deliver the product that's required in order to gain the audience and grow the station. Zane Derbyshire, you are an absolute legend, and I really appreciate you clarifying this from a program manager's point of view. And I hope that this resource will be helpful to those young guys watching and going, I want to get on the radio. Well, now you've got a little bit of an idea how. Thank you, Zane.
Thanks, Gordy.
Hey, thanks for watching this YouTube video, and to all those who've subscribed, thank you to you, and thank you for sharing the channel as well. If you haven't subscribed yet, click the button down below and click subscribe, and also click the bell for notifications. Always striving to bring you some great content, and there's more to come.